The Saran royal palace floated like a jewel in the skies above the blue gas giant. Its tall towers glowed with soft light, and golden bridges connected domes filled with gardens. From every window the stars looked near, as if the palace itself ruled the heavens. This was the heart of Saran culture, a place where order and tradition had shaped life for thousands of years. Princess Lyra stood on a high balcony, her silver robes catching the glow of the twin moons. Her long training reminded her that she must remain calm and perfect in every public moment. A princess of Saran could not show doubt or hesitation. Yet tonight her heart beat faster than it should. Tonight a human was coming. The humans had risen quickly among the stars. Only a few generations ago, they were unknown beyond their home world. Now they sent ships across distant regions, carrying words of peace and requests for friendship. Many Sarans thought the humans were too bold. Some feared that human honesty was only a mask for hidden strength. Others said that humans were too young to stand among ancient peoples. Lyra had studied reports about humans. They built ships of steel, they fought against the silence of space, and they believed in facing challenges directly. The council had chosen her to meet the human envoy because she was known for her calm manner. She reminded herself that this was her duty. She must receive the visitor with grace, and she must not allow her emotions to show. The great hall filled with soft music as guests arrived. Tall Saran nobles stood in rows, their shining robes flowing like water. Servants placed crystal bowls of glowing fruit on golden tables. Guards in white armor lined the walls, their staffs held upright in silence. Lyra entered with measured steps, her head held high. At the far end of the hall the great doors opened. The human envoy stepped inside. His name was Aaron, and he wore a simple dark uniform with a small silver crest. He did not wear jewels or flowing robes, yet he walked with steady confidence. His eyes moved across the hall without fear. He looked at the Sarans as equals, not as unreachable figures. Lyra's first thought was that he looked far less alien than she expected. His face was different from Saran features, yet his expression was clear and easy to read. There was strength in the way he stood, and a calm energy that seemed out of place in such a grand hall. She reminded herself to stay composed, but her hands felt less steady than usual. The master of ceremony spoke in a deep voice, announcing the envoy from Earth. Aaron stepped forward, bowed slightly, and spoke in the common tongue without delay. I bring greetings from the people of Earth. We come with hopes of friendship and shared paths among the stars. His words were simple. No long phrases, no layers of hidden meaning. Lyra had expected a speech filled with ceremony, but instead he spoke directly. Some of the nobles whispered among themselves, wondering if such plain words were proper. Lyra raised her hand, silencing the hall, and gave her reply in the calm voice she had practiced. Envoy Aaron, the Saran people welcome you. May your journey here be the beginning of understanding between our worlds. Aaron smiled and nodded. It was not the reserved gesture of Saran nobility, but it felt honest. Lyra felt warmth rise within her, though she fought to hide it. She knew every eye in the hall was watching her. She could not let her voice tremble, she could not let her face betray the unusual effect this human had on her. The music rose again, and the ceremony continued with gifts and formal exchanges. Yet Lyra's thoughts stayed fixed on Aaron. He moved with ease among the nobles, speaking without fear, and every word from him was plain but strong. He did not try to impress with grand phrases. He simply spoke as if truth was enough. For the first time in her life, Princess Lyra found her training tested. She had faced great councils, she had spoken before starfleets, and she had never once faltered. But now, in the presence of a single human, she felt her composure slip like sand between her fingers. She straightened her back and reminded herself, she was Saren royalty. No matter what, she must remain composed. Yet deep inside, she wondered why this human's presence felt so different. And she feared that the days ahead would only make it harder to keep her calm mask in place. The great hall grew quieter once the formal ceremony ended. Nobles drifted into small groups, their voices rising in soft waves as they discussed the arrival of the human envoy. Musicians played gentle notes from crystal instruments, filling the space with calm harmony. Servants moved gracefully, carrying trays of fruit and shining cups of clear water. Princess Lyra stood at the center of the hall, her posture straight, her expression calm. She felt the weight of duty pressing against her shoulders. The council expected her to lead these first moments of contact. Her people looked at her as the face of Saren tradition. Yet in her chest, her heart beat faster than it should. She knew that every step, every word, every glance would be remembered. Aaron, the human envoy, walked toward her with steady steps. He did not seem unsettled by the noble eyes watching him from every side. His uniform was simple, but he carried himself with a quiet strength. When he reached her, he gave another short bow, less formal than Saren custom, yet filled with respect. "Princess Lyra," he said, his voice clear, "I am honored to meet you." His words were plain, but there was no hesitation in them. Lyra answered with her own greeting, keeping her voice smooth and her face calm. "Envoy Aaron, the honor is shared. May your presence bring peace between our people." He smiled, and the expression felt different from the polite masks she was used to. It was not trained or practiced. It was real. Lyra reminded herself that she must not allow such things to disturb her thoughts. She had been trained to remain composed in every situation. Yet already she felt her control being tested. They walked together through the hall as nobles watched. Aaron looked at the high windows and the glowing towers beyond them. "Your palace is beautiful," he said. "It feels alive, as if it belongs to the stars." Lyra gave a careful nod. "It has stood for many generations. Each ruler has added to its design. It is a symbol of order and history." He seemed to think about her words before answering. "Where I come from, buildings rise and fall quickly. We build fast, we change often. But I can see why you would treasure something like this. It holds your past and your future together." His reply surprised her. Many visitors from other worlds praised the palace in empty ways, calling it shining or eternal, but few thought about its meaning. For a moment she almost forgot the watching eyes. She felt as if they were simply two people speaking, not a princess and a foreign envoy. They stopped at a long table where a ritual was prepared. Crystal bowls of glowing fruit stood ready, part of an old Saren tradition of sharing food to mark peace. The master of ceremony stepped forward to guide Aaron through the custom. Aaron listened carefully but did not follow the exact order of steps. He reached for the fruit before the signal was given. Gasps spread across the hall. Lyra felt tension rising. The nobles expected her to respond, to defend the honor of tradition. Her training told her to keep her face calm, but inside she feared the moment would turn into insult. Yet Aaron looked up and noticed the silence. Instead of confusion or anger, he gave a small laugh and stepped back. "My mistake," he said simply. "I will follow as you guide me." His honesty broke the sharp mood. Some nobles looked at one another in surprise. He had not tried to excuse himself or cover his error. He admitted it and showed respect by waiting. Lyra lifted her hand in a graceful motion, signaling that the ritual could begin again. Together they shared the glowing fruit, and the tension faded. As the evening continued, Aaron spoke with several nobles. His way of speaking was different from theirs. The Sarans often used layers of words, hiding their thoughts behind careful phrases. Aaron spoke directly, without hiding meaning. Some nobles frowned at this, yet others found it refreshing. Lyra listened to his voice while keeping her calm mask in place. She noticed how easily he asked questions, even about things no visitor had dared to ask. He wanted to know about Saran customs, about their starships, about the meaning of their songs. His curiosity carried no insult. It was open and honest. When the gathering finally ended, Lyra returned to her private chamber. She sat by the tall window, looking out at the blue gas giant below. She tried to steady her thoughts. She reminded herself that this was only the first meeting, that she must remain strong for her people. Yet the memory of his smile and his plain words stayed with her. For the first time in her life, she feared that her greatest challenge would not be her enemies, nor the weight of duty. Her greatest challenge might be the human envoy who had spoken to her with such honest strength. The palace lights dimmed as the evening ended. Most nobles returned to their chambers, yet Princess Lyra remained awake. She walked along a silent corridor, her thoughts unsettled. She had spent years learning to keep her mind calm, but the human envoy's presence was still with her. His words had been direct, his smile unguarded. She could not deny the strange weight it left on her heart. She reached the command balcony where starship officers monitored the space around the palace. The wide glass wall showed the gas giant below, its blue storms shifting like rivers of light. Officers stood at glowing consoles, their eyes fixed on the sensors. Lyra often came here when she needed clear thought. Watching the stars always reminded her of her people's place in the endless sky. Tonight, however, the mood of the room was tense. Commander Cyril, a loyal officer of the crown, turned toward her. "Your Highness, our outer patrols have reported unusual signals. They come from beyond the rings of the gas giant. The pattern is not natural." Lyra felt a chill run through her. "Have we identified the source?" "Not yet," Cyril said. "The signals rise and fade as if someone is masking them. Some believe it may be simple traders hiding in the rings, but I doubt it. Their movement is too controlled." Before she could reply, footsteps echoed behind her. She turned to see Aaron entering the balcony, escorted by guards. He looked at the consoles, then at Lyra. "I was told there is trouble. May I ask what is happening?" Several officers frowned. They were not used to sharing such matters with outsiders. Lyra hesitated. Tradition told her that secrets of the palace should not be shared. Yet she saw something steady in Aaron's eyes. His presence did not feel like intrusion but like support. She gave a slow nod. "Unusual signals," she explained. "We cannot say yet if they are hostile. But the palace must be ready." Aaron moved closer to the glass wall, watching the dark rings of the giant below. "I have seen signals like this before," he said. "On the edge of human space, before a raid. Small ships would hide among asteroids and test our defenses with short bursts of signal. It was always the beginning of something larger." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Lyra felt her chest tighten. His words were not dramatic, only plain, yet they carried weight. She turned back to Commander Cyril. "Increase the patrols. Double the watch on every sector. If these signals hide danger, we must not be blind to it." Cyril bowed and began giving orders. The hall filled with soft tones as patrol ships were called into action. When the others were busy, Lyra spoke quietly to Aaron. "You seem certain these signals are not harmless." Aaron looked at her with calm honesty. "I am not certain, Princess. But I have learned that danger often begins with whispers, not with shouts. It is better to prepare early than to regret waiting." His words struck her again. Sarin councils often debated endlessly before acting. This human spoke of action without hesitation. It unsettled her, but at the same time it gave her a strange sense of safety. The next day, reports arrived from the outer patrols. Ships had found faint energy traces in the rings. They did not match Sarin or human design. Whoever hid there was using advanced cloaking. Lyra called a council of nobles to discuss it. The hall filled once more, but this time the air was sharp with worry. Some nobles insisted the signals were harmless travelers. Others warned of spies from rival kingdoms. A few demanded that humans might be behind it, testing Sarin's strength under false friendship. Aaron was present, standing silently at the side. Lyra watched him as voices clashed around her. He did not argue, he did not defend himself. He waited with patience, yet his eyes never left her. She realized he was leaving the choice to her, respecting her place among her people. At last she rose. "We will treat this as a true threat," she said. "The signals are not random. Our patrols will expand. Our defenses will be raised. If there is an enemy hiding near our home, they will find we are not unprepared." The nobles fell silent, some approving, some doubtful. Aaron gave a single nod, nothing more, but it filled her with quiet strength. Later, in the calm of her private chamber, Lyra looked out at the stars again. Her heart was heavy with duty, yet she knew the truth. The presence of the human envoy made her stronger, even as it disturbed her calm. But beyond the palace walls, hidden in the dark rings, something dangerous waited. The days of simple diplomacy were ending. The council chamber was still heavy with tension after the reports of hidden ships. Nobles argued long into the night, but no clear answer came. At last, Princess Lyra ended the debate. She declared that she herself would travel with a scout vessel to confirm the truth. The council tried to object, saying a princess should not risk her life, but her voice cut through their protests. "If I cannot stand at the edge of danger," she said, "then how can my people trust me to lead?" The council had no reply. The decision was made. The next morning, the scout vessel Sarin Wing stood ready in the docking bay. Its silver frame shone under the bright lights, built for speed and stealth rather than war. Only a small crew was chosen for the mission. To the surprise of many, Aaron was among them. He had offered to join, saying his knowledge of such signals could prove useful. Lyra had allowed it, though she still wondered if that choice was guided more by duty or by something she could not name. When the vessel left the palace bay, the stars spread wide around them. The blue gas giant filled half the view, its great storms curling across its surface. The rings stretched like endless rivers of stone and ice. Lyra stood at the front window, her silver robes replaced by a scout uniform. She tried to steady her mind, reminding herself of her role. Yet beside her, Aaron stood in his dark uniform, calm and unshaken. "This is not the first time you have gone into danger, is it?" she asked. He shook his head. "On Earth we do not have palaces in the sky, but we have many borders. Some neighbors are friendly, some are not. I have learned that waiting for answers can be costly. We go out and look for ourselves." His words carried the same plain strength she had heard before. No ceremony, no hidden meaning, only truth. She felt her heart tighten and forced herself to look back at the window. As the Saren wing entered the rings, shadows closed around them. Great rocks drifted in silence, turning slowly in the light of the distant sun. Streams of ice glimmered like rivers of glass. The pilot guided the vessel carefully between them. Every movement was delicate, for a single mistake could crush their ship. The crew scanned the area with sensors, but the signals were faint and scattered. Hours passed in silence. Only the soft hum of the vessel and the steady beeping of consoles filled the air. At last, Aaron leaned closer to one of the displays. "There," he said. "A shadow where no rock should be." Lyra stepped beside him, her eyes narrowing. The screen showed a faint distortion among the ring stones. It was almost invisible, but not quite. She gave the order to magnify. The distortion sharpened, and the outline of a vessel appeared. Its shape was sharp and unfamiliar, built for hiding rather than greeting. "Cloaked," Aaron said. "I was afraid of this." The Saren officers exchanged worried looks. Lyra kept her face calm, though her chest was heavy with unease. "How many more could be hidden?" she asked. Aaron answered without delay. "If they follow the patterns I have seen before, there will be many. Enough to test your defenses. Enough to strike if they think you are weak." Silence filled the command room. Every officer looked at their princess, waiting for her command. Lyra stood tall, even as her mind turned with questions. She thought of her people in the palace, of the nobles who doubted, of the council who hesitated. She also thought of Aaron standing beside her, his presence steady like a shield. "We will not engage," she said firmly. "Not yet. We will gather proof and return. The council must see with their own eyes. Let them deny the danger after this." The vessel moved deeper into the rings, recording images of the cloaked ship. As they passed, another distortion appeared, then another. Soon the crew counted more than a dozen. An entire fleet was hidden there, waiting. Lyra's hands clenched behind her back, but her face remained calm. She would not show fear, not even now. Beside her, Aaron's eyes stayed fixed on the window, his voice steady when he spoke. "You were right to come yourself, princess. Now you will know the truth, not just the whispers of others." She turned her head toward him, and for a moment their eyes met. His honesty shook her balance once again. She looked away quickly, returning her gaze to the stars. The Saren wing turned back toward the palace. They carried proof of danger, but Lyra carried something more. She carried the weight of knowing that her composure would be tested again and again, not only by the enemy hidden in the rings, but by the presence of the human who stood so calmly at her side. The Saren wing returned to the palace with heavy silence in its halls. The images of the cloaked ships were undeniable. Dozens of enemy vessels waited in the rings, sharp outlines hidden in shadow. The crew knew this was no mistake, no simple travelers passing through. It was a fleet prepared for attack. Princess Lyra stood before the council once more, her voice steady as she presented the proof. The images lit up the chamber, showing the hidden ships from every angle. Murmurs spread through the nobles. Some gasped, others narrowed their eyes. "They mean to strike us," Lyra said. "There is no other reason for such a fleet to hide at our borders." Many nobles spoke at once. Some urged immediate attack, while others demanded retreat to the inner systems. A few still whispered suspicion of the humans, saying the envoy might have lured them into fear. The debate threatened to break into chaos. Aaron remained silent through it all. He stood at the side of the chamber, his arms behind his back, his eyes fixed on Lyra. When she looked at him, he gave a small nod, a sign of support without a single word. That simple gesture gave her the strength to raise her voice above the noise. "The time for argument is over," she declared. "They will come. We must be ready." The chamber grew quiet. The council could not deny her command. Orders were sent to raise shields around the palace and call every patrol back to defense. The attack came sooner than anyone expected. Only hours later, alarms rang through the palace. The hidden ships emerged from the rings, their cloaks breaking as they powered weapons. Bright lights filled the sky as the fleet moved with precision, like blades cutting through the dark. The palace shook as the first strikes hit the outer shields. Lyra stood on the command balcony, her heart heavy but her face unshaken. Officers shouted reports as the enemy closed in. The great palace defenses glowed with energy, holding back the first wave of fire. Yet the pressure grew with every moment. Aaron stepped to her side, his voice calm though the floor shook beneath them. "Your palace shields are strong, but they are built for defense, not for a long war. If they keep pressing, the shields will fail." "What do you suggest?" Lyra asked quickly. "Use your ships with the palace," Aaron said. "Do not keep them waiting. Send them to strike from the side while the palace holds the center. You must fight as one force, not as pieces." It was a simple idea, yet it carried the clarity of experience. Lyra turned to Commander Cyril. "Send the fleet. Do not wait for orders from the council. Strike as he says." Cyril obeyed at once, sending signals to the Saran ships waiting nearby. Moments later, silver vessels burst from the palace bays, forming wings around the enemy fleet. They struck with beams of blue light, cutting through the sides of the invaders. The battle grew fierce, the stars flashing with fire and smoke. The palace shook again as more blasts hit its shields. Sparks rained from consoles, and officers struggled to keep control. Through it all, Lyra stood tall, her voice calm as she gave commands. She forced herself to remember her training, to keep her people steady by her own example. Aaron moved across the balcony, guiding officers with firm words. His knowledge of battle was clear. He did not hesitate, and his presence gave the Saran crew new courage. Lyra watched him for a brief moment, feeling once again how his calm strength made her own resolve stronger. After long hours of battle, the enemy fleet began to pull back. Several of their ships burned in the dark, while others fled toward the outer system. Cheers rose from the Saran crew, though their shields were nearly broken and their ships carried scars. Lyra gave the order to hold position and not pursue. Her voice remained steady, but her heart pounded. She turned to Aaron. "We have held, but this is not the end. They will come again." He met her gaze with quiet certainty. "Yes. But now your people know they can fight back. You stood with them, Princess. They will not forget." For a moment, Lyra felt her mask of composure slip. Not from fear, but from the weight of his words. She forced herself to stand straight once more, but she knew the truth. The battle had tested her people, and it had tested her heart. And both had changed. The palace was quiet after the battle, though the silence carried the weight of strain. The shields were scarred, the towers burned in places, and the outer gardens lay in ruins. Yet the palace still stood. The Saran people had defended their home, and for the first time in many generations, they had done so with open battle in the skies above them. Princess Lyra walked through the grand hall, where the council had gathered once more. Nobles filled the chamber, their robes dark with ash, their faces pale from sleepless hours. The images of the fight were still fresh in their minds. Some were proud of their victory. Others were afraid of what would come next. Aaron stood near the side again, not speaking, not interrupting. He knew this was not his place. Yet his presence was felt strongly. Many nobles cast suspicious glances toward him, and a few whispered that the human envoy had brought war to their doors. Councillor Varen, an elder with sharp eyes, raised his voice. This battle has shown us the truth. The enemy hides in our skies, but they would not have come if humans had not drawn them here. We should send this envoy away before his presence causes more ruin. Murmurs of agreement spread. Lyra felt the sting of their fear, but she did not answer at once. She wanted to hear every voice. Another noble, Lady Senera, shook her head. The enemy came because they believed us weak. Yet we fought and we held. Would we have done so without the envoy's guidance? His counsel saved our ships from ruin. The chamber erupted again, voices clashing like storm winds. Some demanded isolation, others called for unity with humans. The noise echoed through the high arches until Lyra rose to her feet. Her presence alone brought silence. She spoke slowly, each word chosen with care. Our shields held, but not by chance. Our ships struck, but not by accident. We fought as one, because we had guidance when we most needed it. Aaron of Earth stood with us, and his strength became ours. The nobles shifted uneasily. Councillor Varen's voice rose again. And what if his strength is only a mask? What if humans seek to bind us with words, only to control us later? Can you, Princess, give your people the promise that they will not betray us? The question cut deep. All eyes turned to her. Lyra felt the weight of duty pressing harder than ever. She looked at Aaron. He stood tall, but he did not try to answer for her. He did not defend himself. His eyes only met hers with calm respect, as if telling her the choice was hers alone. In that moment, Lyra realized the truth. The humans were not promising safety with false words. Aaron had not begged for trust, nor tried to hide his thoughts. He had offered only honesty, leaving the decision to her. It was unlike anything she had seen before. She turned back to the council, her voice strong. I cannot promise you that humans will never fail. No leader can promise such things. But I can promise you this, in our hour of need, they stood with us. While others doubted, Aaron acted. He did not command us, he did not bind us, he fought beside us. That is not the mark of a hidden enemy. That is the mark of an ally. Her words filled the hall. Silence followed, heavy and long. At last, Lady Senera rose and bowed her head. I will stand with the princess. Let us welcome alliance with the humans. One by one, others began to agree, though some still held back. Councillor Varen left the chamber in anger, refusing to support her decision. But the majority gave their voices to Lyra. When the council ended, Lyra stepped out onto the balcony. The stars stretched wide before her, silent witnesses to the turning of history. Aaron joined her, his steps quiet. You spoke for me, he said, his voice low. No, she replied, her eyes on the sky. I spoke for my people. But I could not have spoken with such strength without you. For a moment, neither said more. The silence between them was not heavy but alive, filled with understanding. Lyra felt her composure weaken again, though she tried to hold it. She knew the next days would test them both. The enemy would return, stronger than before. But for now, she had made her choice. Humanity would not be sent away. humanity would stand beside Seren. And she, Princess of Seren, would no longer face the storm alone. The palace no longer shook with fear, though the air still carried the memory of battle. The shields had been restored, the fires put out, and the wounded cared for. Yet beneath the surface, the Seren world had changed. For the first time in many generations, the people looked to the stars not only with worry, but also with hope. Princess Lyra stood before her people in the grand square. Thousands had gathered, their faces turned upward, waiting for her words. The banners of Seren waved high above, their colors bright against the morning light. Beside her stood Eren, the human envoy, his figure simple yet strong. His presence stirred whispers among the crowd, but no one turned away. Lyra raised her hand for silence. Her voice carried clear and calm. People of Seren, you have seen with your own eyes the storm that came upon us. The enemy believed us weak. They believed we would fall quickly. But we did not. We fought, and we endured. The crowd answered with a cheer, though their voices still trembled with the memory of fear. Lyra continued, her tone steady. We did not endure alone. In our hour of need, we were not abandoned. A voice stood with us, a voice from beyond our world. Humanity did not come as conqueror. Humanity came as ally. And together, we struck back against the dark. All eyes turned toward Eren. He did not speak, only bowed his head with respect. Lyra's voice grew stronger. From this day, let it be known. Seren will not face the stars alone. We will walk beside our new friends. We will share knowledge, share strength, and share hope. The path ahead will be hard, but it will no longer be walked in silence. The cheer that followed was louder, rising like thunder across the square. The people raised their arms, their voices blending into one. For the first time, they were not only Seren looking to the sky with dread. They were Seren ready to step forward with courage. Later, when the crowd had left and the banners were folded away, Lyra found herself once again on the balcony where so many choices had been made. Eren joined her, his steps familiar now. He stood beside her, his gaze resting on the endless stars. You gave them more than hope today, he said quietly. You gave them trust. Lyra nodded, though her eyes stayed on the horizon. It was not only my words. It was what they saw. They saw you fight. They saw you stand. Trust is not built on promises. It is built on action. Eren turned to her, his expression thoughtful. And you? Do you trust me, princess? For a moment, her composure slipped. The calm mask she always wore cracked just enough to reveal the weight in her heart. She met his eyes, steady and clear. Yes. I trust you. Not because you are human, not because you are envoy, but because you are true to your word. The silence that followed was gentle, filled with understanding. The stars stretched above them, no longer symbols of fear, but of new beginnings. Days passed, and the first steps of alliance began. Human ships arrived not as conquerors, but as guests. They brought supplies to repair Seren defenses, and in return, Seren engineers shared knowledge of their shield systems. Together they began to build something greater than either could build alone. Some Seren still doubted. Some still feared. Yet slowly, through shared effort and open hearts, the walls of suspicion began to fall. One evening, Lyra walked through the palace gardens with Eren. The air was calm, and the night sky glowed with countless lights. She paused near a fountain, watching the water shimmer. When I was young, she said softly, I was told that to lead is to remain composed, no matter what. A princess does not falter. A princess does not show weakness. Aaron looked at her with quiet respect. And yet, sometimes strength is not in hiding, but in choosing when to stand open. Her heart stirred at his words. She felt the truth in them, though she said nothing. For the first time, she allowed herself a small smile, not for her people, not for her council, but for herself. The path ahead would not be easy. The enemy still waited in the dark, ready to strike again. But Lyra no longer feared. For Saren was no longer alone. Humanity stood beside them. And within her heart, she carried a new strength, one that no battle could take away. The dawn of a new era had begun.